It's something that comes with practice, but you should know, like, you should have the feeling to know when you've played a crazy good chop. Like, sometimes it chops and you just know that it's perfect. Like, you can feel this one's unloopable. It's the best chop that I've played. The second you feel that you've played that chop, your mentality has to switch to aggression because they're either going to loop it into the net, they're going to give you a very slow, weak loop, or they're going to push it. And those are your three times where you want to rip the hell out of the ball and try to put the point away. So it's something that comes with practice, but a switch has to kind of flip, where it's like, okay, I played this perfect, unloopable chop. If they manage to loop this with quality, good job to them. But mentally, you should be thinking aggression after that. But instead, you kind of reset the point and put it back in his advantage. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Louie here, and welcome to a brand new VOD review. Before we get started, I have a couple things that I would like to go over. Firstly, I get a lot of comments asking where to go to submit matches, as well as where to go to just ask me questions and kind of get some smaller coaching without doing a full VOD review. The best place to do that is in my Discord server. It is always in the description as well as in the pinned comment down below. So I strongly recommend joining if you're curious about that. Aside from kind of getting coaching, there's a pretty large and growing community, so there's a lot of people to chat and hang out with who are also table tennis enthusiasts, so it's a great place to hang out. And again, it's also where you can submit pro VODs as well as video submissions for VOD reviews. Second thing I want to go over is just kind of a PSA that the only three VOD reviews I have coming up that I know of are Duncan Rate, Stephen Reed, and Priench. And if you don't see yourself on this list and I haven't done your match already, then make sure to send me a message just so that we make sure that you've gotten everything correct and I'm not missing it. And then on top of that, if you're one of these people and you have submitted a second match, so you've submitted a second match after I've already reviewed your first one, then also make sure to send me a message so that I know to look for it, because otherwise it may just sit here and I might not ever get to it. But anyway, with that out of the way, today we're going to be taking a look at a match from Duncan Rate. So let's do a little bit of reading here. And actually, I noticed that you made 3 submissions. So I'm actually going to delete the first 2 only because it doesn't make sense for me to review one and then do another one a week later because you won't have had a chance to implement my advice just yet. I do appreciate you using this format. It makes it very easy to jump around. But we're gonna go ahead and delete the first 2, especially since they're a little bit older. I'll watch the most recent one, and then if you end up kind of using my advice and you follow it and you have another match after that, definitely submit it as submission too, and we'll take a look. But no recent national plays, so no recent ranking or rating. Years ago, I played 2 sessions from the bottom division of the British National League, averaging 70% as number 2. Other than that, the only frame of reference I have is I beat a 2100 US ATT rated player 3-0. Okay, gotcha. So pretty high level would be my guess. We'll take a look. Goals are to start winning some matches against players who feel just out of reach, the guys with 80% plus win rates, to increase my local league winning ratio to over 80%, to be competitive in national veterans tournaments when eligible in 2 years, to become a better defensive player, more strategically decisive, knowing which style to use at different times. Alrighty. Practice frequency, 1 time a week, 2-hour structured training session, which I run. Not coaching, just calling different drills. Okay, cool. I swap out any useless drills for defensive drills. 1 time a week, 3-hour league match, or match practice versus club mates. 2 to 3 times a month, 1 hour, 30 minutes, one-on-one training sessions, and 1 time a month, hour and a half, one-on-one coaching session. Started playing at 27, watched Ji Se Hyuk, thought he's amazing. Had recently been forced to quit football due to an injury, so decided to get into table tennis instead. Funnily enough, soccer players always make really good table tennis players just because of the footwork. It's like every soccer player I've known that switches to table tennis is just automatically good. 5 operations on the right knee. Wow. But typically now doesn't interfere too much with play. Just means I can't play every day. Modern defensive style. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Ju is my idol. Spent many years practicing with weaker players. Okay. I think I've read enough. Submission 1. So this is a recent match. It's about a couple weeks ago. Very standard defensive setup. Very, very nice sheet of long pips. I really like this rubber. Match was a 2-man format where it was representing my county. Number 2 on the team. It was their number 2. No spin roller, slow roller. Didn't know what to do. That's a very tough style to play against, this long pip. So this will be an interesting one. All right, this is gonna be fun. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. And yeah, to everyone watching at home, I hope you enjoy the video. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I have watched the first couple of points just to kind of get a feel for the match. I would say it's definitely mid to higher ELO table tennis, maybe 2000, 1800, somewhere between 1800 and 2100 level. Definitely good technique on both sides, pretty solid strategies. Our protagonist is the player on this side of the table. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, it's not bad. Yeah, those are always, as a long pips player, the absolute most difficult serve to receive is the long floaty serve to your backhand. And it's one, like, the shot you're playing is correct, but the feeling on it is totally different to the shot that you would play against a heavy topspin or heavy underspin serve. So it's the type of thing that you kind of just have to drill and practice until you just don't forget the feeling. Like, literally just have somebody constantly serve, like maybe for 15 to 30 minutes a day until you think it's perfect. Serve very low, long, and relatively fast, like floaty, no spin serves into the pips until you get that feeling perfect. Because like long pips players tend to make a lot of mistakes on that sort of shot. That's fine. He played a very nice shot. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, you have the right idea. So I know you mentioned it's the first time you played against this slow, I guess, rolly type of topspin instead of the power loop. Let me pull up a clip. Hang on 1 second. Okay, so this is me on this side of the table. I have a very slow, rolly style, especially against long pips. This guy, very, very, very high level, modern defense, long pips. Very similar style to what you're playing. And I want you to watch what he does against the slower loops. So every single one of my loops is that slow, spinny, shallow, very difficult to handle ball. And the way he's able to keep the chops on the table, and of course he attacks, but the way he's able to keep the chops on the table is by adding a lot of motion to the shots. So the key when you're chopping against kind of the slower rolly loops is to make sure you finish your form. So you're making a semicircle with the paddle chopping down, and you have to finish your form. If you kind of push it and then stop as if you're playing a backhand push, you're always going to miss in the net because the ball has no power on it. So you have to, so right there, have to follow through a little bit more. Right here, you kind of stop. Has to be a bigger fluid motion. And because you're so far away from the table, you have time to play that sort of shot. You don't need to kind of stop early and rush. Yeah, it's too small. Yeah, you're a little tentative on the pushes, or not on the chops. Like technically the shot is fine, but it's not really doing anything. It's got underspin on it, but it's not this monstrously heavy chop. It almost feels like you're letting the pips do a lot of the work. I'd almost compare it to like when you play an all arm loop where you're not really adding power. You're kind of doing that with your chop. When you're chopping, you need to chop. Like make it hard for him to loop, make him work his ass off every single time for the point. Because right now these balls are pretty floaty and they're very easy to loop. And if you watch any really strong long pips player, you'll see. Let me pull up some more clips from my match. Hang on one sec, because this guy that I played is very good. All right, so I got a couple more examples I want to show. And again, I'm on this side, but I want you to focus on this player. He's very, very good chopper. And I give a lot of these slower, floaty loops. And I want you to watch how much effort he puts into every chop. He's not just dinking it with the pips. Watch how strong each chop is. Do you see how fluid the motion is? How large the follow through is? It's so much underspin, it makes it incredibly difficult for me to loop. And then I believe this next point is another good example. So, again, I give a lot of the slower spinny balls. Do you see that? Look at the effort that goes into the chop. So he's not just pushing it over the net. He's giving a lot of underspin. He's really chopping into the ball and making me work. Now, if we compare to the way that you're chopping here, go back a little bit. Look at where your form stops. Can you see your motion is not incorrect? It's just tentative. Like you're almost so scared to miss that you don't want to finish your form, and there's no limit testing. Whereas when you watch that match, he's literally stomping, swinging so hard to get underspin on the ball. And I guarantee if you watch someone like Ju Se-hyuk, it's the same. He's not just pushing, he's chopping the ball. He's chiseling it, putting so much underspin on it to make it difficult to loop. That's okay? Very nice, very nice. Your feeling is really good. And your footwork is really good as well. Yeah, same. Too tentative. You've got to swing into those balls. Now, tactically, something I want to mention is we are 12 points into this game, and you haven't challenged the wide forehand a single time. You've played to his forehand like here, you've played a lot to the middle, and you've played a lot to the backhand. I haven't seen a single, other than the serve that you tried, you haven't forced him to move out wide to the forehand, where you can do the combination where you force him to loop, and then after he's looped this ball, play wide into the backhand corner with the chop. And he's either going to have the best footwork in the world to loop that with the forehand, or he's going to push, which opens up the opportunity for you to loop. And as a defender, as a modern defender, giving yourself occasional opportunities to loop is how you're going to win. And one of my favorite ways to do that is you force him to loop slow and spinny out wide here. You play the next ball here. He's either going to have the best footwork in the world, which if he does, so be it, or he's going to push with his backhand and give you the chance to attack and finish the point. That's fine. That's not bad at all. Not bad. Still tentative. And that should have been where you started attacking. So I know you won the point there, but against a very slow, spinny looper, the second they give you kind of the dinky loop out wide to the forehand, should be your green light to counterattack and try to put the point away. This, let me see if I can find the exact spot. So this is fine. This is fine. This one should be looped. At this point, there's not much spin on that ball. He kind of just threw it up with some top spin. This is point over if you attack. If you play down the line right here, it's point over. If you want to play it safer and counter loop cross court, you're probably still winning the point. You can go kind of right here into the body and you'll probably win the point. But by lobbing, you give him an opportunity to then play a much higher quality loop. And fortunately, he makes an unforced error. But a higher level player is, if they give you that shot and then you don't take advantage of it, then they're going to put the point away. Yeah, that should be looped as well. So it's tough because you're a modern defender, but there are some balls that just shouldn't ever be pushed. And long backspin to the forehand is one of those. Like long backspin right to the forehand. Make him prove that he's going to counter your loop. So, and your loop doesn't have to be a power loop. It can be just a spinny deep ball right into the corner here. You can spin to the middle and then go back and chop. However you want to play it. But make sure you loop that initial ball and then go back to chop. Because otherwise, if you push the long ball that came to your forehand and it lands, you're giving him a very predictable return. Because he knows you can't go short. He knows it's going to come back with underspin. So it's just a green light for him to loop really powerfully. And so, yes, you missed the serve, but even if you land that return, he's probably winning the point. Good idea. A little bit of a misread. Again, a little bit tentative on the chops, where you're kind of stopping before you get a chance to finish your form all the way. Nice. Yeah. So a lot of the no spin balls, like there again, the second you get the no spin ball to chop, you miss in the net just because you're not passive but tentative, where your form stops and doesn't follow through all the way. Let's take a look at the second game. Not bad. Again, same mistake, and then again, I want to see you challenge the wide forehand, because right now his best forehands have been from the middle and from the backhand corner this way. We haven't even seen if he's capable of playing a high quality forehand from this wide corner. And so who knows, maybe this is a really weak shot for him and he doesn't have the footwork, or maybe this gives you a more favorable opportunity to chop. But we don't know because you haven't tried it. And it's kind of been a repetition of kind of the same rally several points in a row. Very nice chop. That was your best chop so far. See how you kind of dug into that one and finished your form? Look where your racket finished. Out here, you fully followed through and it was chiseled and he dumps it straight into the net. Very nice. Very nice point. Yeah, not enough variation. And again, the other thing you can do on those slower floaty balls, you don't even have to have the best technique. If it's a slow no spin ball to your backhand, you can always twiddle and just rip it with the backhand. And because it's inherently not going to have much spin on it, you don't really have to worry about perfect technique and not missing in the net. It's kind of one of those shots where imagine like you're just wildly blindfolded swinging it with the backhand. You just want to rip it. And if it lands, it lands. If it misses, it misses. But it's a better shot than going for what you just went for. And I say that metaphorically, like you're not actually not trying to land the backhand. You're trying to land it, but just the mentality of you don't care if you miss. It should be an automatic, just twiddle, rip the hell out of the ball. Yeah, same. That has to be looped. Better, better. Very nice chop. Nice, that's fine. That's a very good miss. Like, I will never, ever criticize that. That you lost the point, but in my mind, you won the point. Like, you outplayed your opponent. And had you won the shot, landed the shot, tactically, you were better than him. It was just a matter of not missing the shot. I'd love to see more of that, actually. Nice. Yeah, there's just not a lot of variation in the chops. It's kind of like, you know what the chop is supposed to look like, and your technique is good, you're getting decent spin, but it's like, sometimes float it, sometimes chisel it, move it around, make it confusing for him, use the pips to your advantage, instead of giving the same type of underspin every time, because he's just going to kind of get into a groove of looping it. Same mistake there, just in terms of the technique is a little bit too tentative. That's fine. It's actually good. Doing weird stuff like that is also very good with a defensive style, just like basically random BS that you don't think you should get away with. It's actually very good with the long pips. Ooh, not bad. Yeah, it's really tentative. You got away with it. Nice. That chop again, very, very good. You chiseled it a little bit more, and that variation forced him to dump it into the net. Nice, nice. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Not bad, not bad. A lot of your forehands, I wish you would be a little bit more aggressive. And it doesn't mean 110% like wear yourself out playing the shot, but instead of lobbing every single one, occasionally throw in a counter loop. Limit test. See what you can do. Yeah, same mistake there on the chop. Nice, right idea, right idea. Yeah, it's a tough concept. I think I'll put it in your notes. I think you may just need to practice a couple of specific things more. Yeah, it's a very tough serve to deal with the pips. Nice. Very good shot. I want to see more of that. And actually, for what it's worth, you went wide to his forehand, like where I said, why don't you go there more to see if there's a weakness, and he's pivoting before you've even gone wide. So now you should also mentally be taking a note of the fact that this is a weakness, and so you should be exploiting that more. Yeah, his forehand is very strong on the pivot. Very nice. Very nice again. That's you might win it anyway. That's another time you should have gone wide to the forehand. The second he stepped around, like he's so out of position after that serve, you can even punch it with the pips. Like this shot is dinky enough to where even with the long pips, you should be able to punch that down the line this way and win the shot, win the point. But instead, you kind of let him back into it. Yeah, same. That needs to be looped. Nice. Nice. Really good. Best forehand of the match so far. That was absolutely perfect. His serve is very illegal, by the way. There's like absolutely no toss. I don't know if he's an umpire or if he's not, then be respectful about it, of course. But he's getting an advantage from that, and I would just politely remind him to toss the ball, because that one was very illegal. Nice. Very nice variation. And again, we're 2.5 games in, and that's one of the only times that you've done that shot with the forehand. I think you just need to be a little bit more willing to take risks and kind of experiment to see what works and what doesn't. Yeah, very nice. He's mentally not very strong. Like he's lost a few points and he's tilted, which is good for you. Very good for you. Okay, he just self-destructed. Tentative. Do something like counter loop it right over, like come in, counter loop it right off of the bounce, twiddle and chop, lob it with some force, lob it really high, but don't just stick your paddle in the way. It's probably nerves, but you have to just do something. His serve is illegal. His backhand serve. The forehand one's alright. Very nice chop. Best one so far. Perfect, perfect. Every time you chop with purpose, you win the point. Every time you're tentative, you lose the point. Ooh, right idea, right idea. That's fine. And on the lobs as well, something else to keep in mind is if you are forced to lob, like you're out of position for some reason, you just can't counter loop, you can't chop, you have to lob. The placement on that lob has to be perfect. You shouldn't ever be lobbing just right here. Try to fish it out deep to the back end or really wide to the forehand. Just something with some variation. You don't want to kind of just fish it right onto the table because you're giving him too much of an opportunity to play a strong shot. Very nice chop. Ideally, that next ball should be hit at this point in the match. Really nice chop. He gives you a very weak loop to the forehand. I would have looped that ball. I think most, like Jusei Hyuk, would have looped that ball. It's just a matter of confidence. And I think you had mentally already decided. Well, I guess I'll go back. It's something that comes with practice. But you should know, like, you should have the feeling to know when you've played a crazy good chop. Like, sometimes it chops and you just know that it's perfect. Like, you can feel this one's unloopable. It's the best chop that I've played. The second you feel that you've played that chop, your mentality has to switch to aggression. Because they're either going to loop it into the net, they're going to give you a very slow, weak loop, or they're going to push it. And those are your 3 times where you want to rip the hell out of the ball and try to put the point away. So it's something that comes with practice, but a switch has to kind of flip, where it's like, okay, I played this perfect, unloopable chop. If they manage to loop this with quality, good job to them. But mentally, you should be thinking aggression after that. But instead, you kind of reset the point and put it back in his advantage. Ooh, nice return. I know you clipped the net, but like the mentality there was perfect. Nice. Amazing, amazing. More of that, more of that. Yeah, it's so illegal. I can't unsee it now. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. That's fine. You don't practice your counter loop enough. But that's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. Like, that's the perfect way to play that point. And I know it's counterintuitive, but the key to being a good modern defender is to have some absolutely unbelievable attacks. Right idea, right idea. You're a little bit early, like kind of rushing into the shot, but the mentality again is correct. It's good. Good. Nice. Really good. Very, very nice. Very nice. This is very stable. And just mentally think about your variation more. Chop some floaty. Chop some really heavy. Chop some wide to the forehand. Again, you played that one shot with the pips a couple games ago, wide to the forehand, and you noticed that he was stepping around before you had even played the shot. You have when stuff like that happens, you have to mentally take a note of it and keep it in the back of your head as a weakness that you can exploit. But it's almost like you've forgotten that point happened. That's fine. Again, on the lobs, the placement needs to be a little bit better. So look where this shot lands. Right into the middle. And when you play to the middle, it gives him really wide angles. If you're forced to lob, the placement has to be the best of the whole match. Very nice chop. That's fine. Very nice, very nice. The other thing that I'd like to mention is just the serve variation. Very, very similar serves throughout the whole match. You tried one where you missed going down the line. Why not try more of that? Why not try some fast, like some ridiculously fast, like, and also more backhand serves wide to the forehand. I guess another good combination as a long pips chopper, if you have the backhand serve, is the half long, very wide serve out to the forehand this way as a backhand pendulum, because almost every right-handed player will move and then play like a very slow like rainbow loop out to your basically to the middle of the table, and it just gives you the opportunity to put the point away quickly. Um, so even as a long pips chopper, you should have a couple of bread and butter combinations in your arsenal where it's kind of like you can go to it and you get the predictable responses. Yeah, it's a tricky serve. Nice. Really good. It's heavy. Nice. Really nice. Yeah. Right idea. A lot of the same mistakes. Yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah. That serve is so illegal that you have to be polite about it, of course, but you have to call people out when they're serving like that because he's getting an advantage from that type of toss. And if he had an umpire, the umpire would have faulted him many, many times. And you may have even won the match. But anyway, let me go write my notes, and then I will be back. Quick. I'm jumping in while I'm thinking about writing the notes, and I noticed you had given me a clip of your practice, and I want you to look at your chop in practice, and then go back and watch your chop in the game, because your chop here is perfect. I mean, like the backhand one specifically. You see how you dig into the ball? Like you chop it to chop it. It's heavy. Like you're really cutting into the ball. At least that first one. And then go back and watch how you were chopping in the match where it was tentative. But just something I thought I would point out. But I'm gonna go ahead and type out the notes and I'll be back. Alrighty, so I've got my notes typed out. They are relatively detailed because I know there was a lot of things I noticed, and most of the concepts are similar enough to where I feel like you could work on a lot of this stuff at the same time. If it's too much, then focus on, I'd say just pick 3 out of these 4 and focus on them, and then we'll worry about whatever one you don't focus on in the future. But anyway, firstly, as part of just your practice sessions in general, have someone with good serves serve those long floaty balls into your pips on the back end so that you can work on the feeling for the return. And keep doing that until it's muscle memory and automatic. Because a lot of the points you lost were outright on the serve when you got that long floaty, basically junk serve to your pips. Along with that, during your practice sessions, I want you to practice the counter loops more, with 2 drills specifically. The first is just a standard forehand to forehand counter loop rally. Like you don't serve it, you both start away from the table, and you immediately hit the ball onto your opponent's side without it bouncing on your side first, so you can get into the rally. And just practice that until you can counter loop 20 in a row without missing. It should feel as consistent as your standard forehand loop. And then the second type of counter loop I want you to practice is one where you chop heavy underspin or serve heavy underspin to your practice partner. Maybe do both. And then they throw it up with topspin to your forehand. They loop their forehand with topspin to your forehand. And you can counter loop anywhere you want on the table and play the point out. Second note, when you chop, make sure that you're chopping. And what I mean by that is to not be tentative. Make sure it's a fluid motion where you always finish your form, which is crucial, especially against the slower loops where you're not able to borrow your opponent's power. Third note, pretty minor, but if you're forced to lob, the placement on the lobs needs to be perfect in order to give your opponent the trickiest shot possible while keeping it predictable for yourself. So for example, try to avoid lobbing to the middle, try to keep the lobs deep, try to keep them spinny, try to get your opponent out of position. And then finally, I want you to just limit test more in general. So what I mean by that, more serves and shots in general really wide to your opponent's forehand. Would love to see more backhand serves, backhand pendulum serves specifically. For example, I mentioned the combination where you can go super wide, half long to the forehand, followed by a loop, and then go into chopping after that. Also mix in some super fast, like rocket serves is what I call them, where they don't have much spin, but they're just ridiculously fast, like a rocket. Catch your opponent by surprise. They normally force a weak return. I'd also love to see some combinations where maybe you chop wide to the forehand, then wide to the backhand, that forces them to push, and then you attack. Make sure you have an aggressive mindset. Anytime you feel like you've played an absolutely perfect or unloopable chop, when possible, counter loop instead of lobbing, or twiddle and chop, or just go for the chop without being results oriented. If it misses, it misses. Then test out combinations and see what works, especially when you do something that works or discover an opponent's weakness. You have to take a mental note of it. So when you play that wide chop to the forehand with the pips, you have to take a mental note. Okay, that's a weakness. He was stepping around before I even played that shot. And then when you take the mental note, it's something you can exploit later in the game. But hopefully that's helpful. Your game is really, really strong. These are definitely fixable mistakes, so you have a lot of potential to improve. I think you can easily get to an 80% win rate, maybe even higher against players like the one you showed me. So I'd love to see another submission in the future. To everyone watching at home, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, as always, please, please, please leave a big thumbs up and give me a comment for the algorithm. It helps a ton. If you're interested in free coaching, again, join the Discord server. That's going to do it for today. Thank you all again so much for watching, and until next time.